Andrea, wow, what a difference. Holy cow, this is just superior to the first job. Good job. I'm so glad you had a chance to address those issues and repost. This is much, much more effective. That said, I do have a few comments for improvement. I've got the AI file up right here. So if you had you submitted a JPEG or a PDF, I wouldn't have seen this. So in a way, I'm kind of glad you submitted the AI file. But when you have your bleed guides like this set up in the document, you want to make sure that the image doesn't exceed the bleed guides. And a really great way to do that in Illustrator is to use the crop tool, which is somewhat new to Illustrator. Back in the day, we would have to go in and imagine this now. And you can do this if you feel more comfortable, but you would have to go back into Photoshop and take this original image and crop it to 8.5 by 11. Then when you place it in here, you would select it and increase the size while holding the shift key down to pull the image to the bleed guides. As I said, that was back in the day. We don't have to do that anymore because we have this wonderful crop tool in Illustrator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my direct selection tool. That is this arrow, not the white one, but the black one. I'm going to select that and I'm just going to select the background image. With the background image selected, as you can see up here, well, actually, let me pull this down. Up in the options bar, right up here, it says crop image. So I'm going to pull that back up so you can see the image, but I'm going to select crop image, and you can see this bounding box comes up, and I'm going to remove the tool palette just for a second so we can see what we're doing. But all you do is just come over and hover over these handles for the crop area, and just as soon as you see the double-sided arrow, just bring that and drag that right to the bleed guide. That's the red line, right? And then we'll take that last line. Okay, now all you do is hit enter or hit apply up in that same options bar, and you're cropped perfectly to the bleed guides. Okay, the next thing I want to check is the color mode. So I'm going to go to Illustrator menu across the top of the screen. Right next to the word Illustrator, you see the word File. I'm going to drop down that until it says Document Color Mode. I can see you're correctly set up in the CMY color mode. That's fantastic. Layers, you've got your text layers. All your text is on the same layer. Image, all your images. Whoop. Okay, that's a problem. What you would do here is this. You have your text layer, you have your images layer where all the images go on that images layer. Then you would have a logo layer. So you have 3 layers, logo and branding, or it's one layer called, I usually call it logo and branding or whatever associated with that, whatever you think is the best way to name it. Typically logo, or like I said, I call it logo and branding. And then the logo would fit on that layer. Then all the text is on one layer, and then all of the images are on the 3rd layer. Looks like all of your images are correctly embedded. That's fantastic. Typefaces, you're set up correctly at Arial bold italic for the subhead, regular Arial for the body copy, and for the address. Excellent. Okay, so a little bit on page mechanics here. A couple of things I would recommend is this. You've got your headline and your subhead. I'm going to select both those by clicking one, then shift clicking the next. And I'm just going to take my arrow key and we're going to bring this over till it's in alignment. I can just drag this too. It's going to take too long with the arrow key. We'll drag that until it's aligned with the type, okay? Much better already. I think that I also, that's a little bit high in the composition, so I would recommend bringing it down a little bit. Okay, looking really great. Now, at this point, I would add a little space here between your paragraphs, and also consider the color of your type. If you don't want to go with that amethyst bay purple for the type, oops, oh, okay. Let me see. That's the purple, and that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks really good. So let's get a space in there. Also, don't forget to use the purple for the headline and subhead text as well, because that blue color isn't going to work. It seems a little jarring. So we'll change that to purple with no stroke. We'll come over here. We'll do the same thing here. Take that stroke off of there, and we are looking really good so far. The next thing I would recommend is let's take this logo. We're going to just move it over here. We're going to take that body copy information, and we're going to move it over there. We're going to place the logo right here just because it's a better area for an exit strategy. Okay. Boy, we are looking fantastic there. The only thing from here is to remove the color background from the address. Let's get a space between those paragraphs, just a small space, a very small space. And that's it. Now, one thing I do want to say about this ad is while you're showing outstanding proficiency, and this looks fantastic right now, but the one thing I would recommend here is this, is if you have to think about what you're saying to your viewer, not only verbally, with your written text, but also visually. What are you telling the viewer visually? And a lot of this has to do with connotative meaning. And I bring this up because the background image, you're saying one thing, but you're showing another. Okay, now follow me on this. And now, this isn't something that would warrant a deduction of points, but I certainly want you to be aware of this, okay? So I guess what I'm saying is it's optional if you want to change the background image. I recommend changing the background image for this reason. You're saying relaxation, but this is a really kind of almost a treacherous looking scene. I mean, those waters look downright ominous. Think about it. Would you go in there? Further, the key that's just kind of flipping up from the surf also is you're connotative telling this message to the viewer that you go in this water, you could likely lose what's in your pockets. Does that make sense? And like I said, the important thing here is that you're showing proficiency. This is not a class in marketing. This is a class in digital imaging. So in that regard, I think that your technical proficiency is excellent. The layout needs a little bit of help just based on what I just showed you. And everything is set up beautifully. In terms of the actual function of the ad itself, I think that could be improved. Now, I recommend changing the background image. I mean, you could even just take this guy right here. If you have like a sunny, beautiful beach background image, you could take that guy and just even place it down there somewhere. And that just, just think about it. Just think about what you're saying to the viewer by placing a key above this really rough surf and make your decision. Like I said, you don't have to change it. It's not going to affect anything in terms of allocation of points, the background image, but I do think it would be more effective in terms of presentation when you, and if and when you decide to place this ad in your final student portfolio, when that time comes. I think a portfolio reviewer or a potential hiring professional, when that time comes, will see what I'm seeing. Say, hey, this image here could be a little bit more effective in terms of conceptual ties with the actual branding message you're saying, which is relaxation, right? All right, great job. Those are my recommendations. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'll be glad to make any necessary clarifications. Okay, great job. Thank you very much.